Well, welcome to another special edition of the Tron Church Talking Points podcast. And my name is Paul Brennan, one of the ministers here in the church. And I'm joined by David Ely, who used to be here in Glasgow, but is now further afield. You've been in Cyprus for the last 18 months. So looking forward to just catching up with you, David, and hearing a bit about your work out in Cyprus. But take us back a bit. Some people listening to this will know a lot about you. They'll know you well, but others maybe not so much. You're originally from Cumbria, studied in Scotland. You were working here in the Tron for a while. How is it you've ended up living and working in Cyprus? Talk us through how you got to where you are.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, grew up in Cumbria, moved to Aberdeen to study, and there, a crucial part of the story, I met my wife. Margarita, who is from Cyprus, and thus the Cyprus story begins.
Yeah,
Studied in Aberdeen, moved down to Glasgow, did a bit more studying, and then started the training scheme here at the Tron.
Yep.
And about that time that we were considering me starting training with the Tron, Margarita and I were seeing the situation back in Cyprus and thinking, the church there needs to be strengthened. It needs people who are well trained to go and commit to teaching the Bible long term. We're seeing old friends falling away, and churches filled with people who were genuine and enthusiastic in their love for the Lord, but just not quite equipped for the task at hand. And we were starting to get a little bit frustrated that no one was going back to sort it out, and then realised that we were also the ones not going back to sort it out. So thought, well, we're at the Tron. They've got a training scheme. We'll see what happens. I don't want to go back and pretend to be trained and ready for this. So we'll just see. We'll see if I'm suited to this kind of work. We'll see what the church thinks. And so I signed up for the apprenticeship scheme then and carried on. Apprenticeship 2 years, 3 years, 3.5 years minister in training. Cornhill, PTC, and just the opportunity remained there, and the need remained there, and it seemed like we were well suited to go back and try and help in some way, not fix all the problems, but try and help out. So
good. So we'll probably come back to some of those things just to pick up some of the details on that. So you went to Cyprus last January.
Yes.
Is that right? So
2022.
Yeah. So you've been there about 18 months now. Help us just get a sense of what Cyprus is like. So you've mentioned already just something of the situation with the church, but just try and help us see through your eyes. You've been there 18 months. What's it like on the ground in terms of Christianity, the church? What's the state of things there?
Yeah, the Protestant church is small. And the evangelical church is even smaller, so we're talking less than 1% of the population.
Right.
I know of a handful of evangelical churches in our city, Larnaca, and there's a few others in the other big cities, of which there are 4 in the island.
Okay.
Outside of that, there's nothing really. It's a Greek Orthodox country. The vast majority of the population would be nominally at least Greek Orthodox, and the evangelical church there is mainly an English-speaking expat sort of community, small, very theologically diverse, and it has all of the problems that come with a small, very theologically diverse subgroup of a subgroup, really. So that's the kind of place it is. It's a struggle to reach out to Greek-speaking Cypriots. The view of, from what I've seen, the Greek Orthodox Church claims to have its roots all the way back right from the beginning.
Sure.
And then on the island, we've also got what essentially looks like a frothy American import. It seems to be of little substance. And so it's easily disregarded.
Right.
So that's kind of how it's viewed, I think, in comparison to this big, well-established, almost national religion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take us back to when you were just going in the months leading up. What were you going to seek to do? Like, what did you envisage your ministry? Because you weren't thinking, let's go for a couple of years, and this is a long-term desire to serve the church in Cyprus. So, what are your going into it? What have been some of your kind of key priorities? What do you want to give yourself to do?
Yeah. Our key priority really is the local church there. It's tempting to think that the Lord is going to use different means in different places to do his work. But the means he has appointed, the means he's building is his church. So our priority was to go to settle in the church there and help the local church with her work of preaching the word. And to do that long term. As with many places, Cyprus has suffered from a lot of short-term missionary activity at times, coming in, changing things, leaving a bit of a mess, running out of funds and leaving. So it's quite important to us that we were going there to be under the authority of the church there, to help build the church and to do that long term, if possible.
Yeah. So fundamentally, what you're doing in Cyprus is what you were doing here. So you mentioned that you had 5.5 years with the Tron on the church staff as an apprentice for 2 years, and then the pastor's training course. How has your time here equipped you? What did you learn through working in the church, through Cornhill, and how has that helped you as you've been in Cyprus? So,
That's a tiny question. Do you want to ask a bigger question? There is no substitute, I think, for learning theology, Bible, how to handle the Bible, how to teach the Bible, alongside actually doing it. And so, before we went to Cyprus, I knew there was stuff I needed to know. But I also realized that there was a kind of person I needed to be. And I also needed to have my ability to do various things really tested in the arena of the local church. And if that's what I'm going to serve, I need to know that I am capable of helping there and not destroying things, and also learn how to do that. Learn the wisdom of doing that with real people, with volunteers who don't always agree with you, with volunteers who don't turn up, or people who are not living ministry the whole time and not living theological academic thinking the whole time, whilst also having the opportunity to really learn that as well. And so being at the Tron gave me that opportunity. Significant formal education with Cornhill and with the pastor's training course, but doing that in a real church community with the chance to work out those things, practically apply those things, and learn the wisdom of dealing with real people. I mean that is, I don't think that's unusual for someone in our situation going to a foreign place. I think that's just what the church needs everywhere is people prepared like that to be real pastors, not just academic, but people who know how to deal with people who know how to apply what they're learning, people who are able to see the errors in real life and deal with them, or see where people need to be encouraged in real life and deal with them. And there could have been no substitute, I think, for doing that in the context of the local church, which is what being at the Tron gave me the opportunity to do.
Yeah, and you were quite clear. I think I'm trying to think back now. It was a while ago when you began, but I think even when you were coming into the apprenticeship, Cyprus was kind of
it was there.
It was on the horizon, and that always has been one of the potential goals for you.
Yeah.
But the fundamental approach to training was the same. So whether it was, we're looking to equip folk to go and lead churches around Glasgow, Scotland, UK, but further afield. But it's fundamentally the same training that's required. It's the same work you're going to do. It's, as you say, it's reaching the lost through the church, and that's how God works in this world. So,
and the skills that, no matter what context I'm in, whatever situation I'm facing, the skills needed are really to know the Word of God well and to understand the people who you're trying to apply that Word of God to. I mean, that is fundamentally the task, and doing that at the Tron prepared me for doing that in Cyprus just as well as doing it in Cyprus would have done in many ways, because the Word of God is the same wherever we are in the world, and whilst there are different situations that we need to apply it to, the wisdom of working with people who are all made in the image of God wherever you are, you gain that here just like you would anywhere else.
Yeah. And so, just as you were looking at going to Cyprus, it wasn't just the Tron that were playing a role. How did you? There might be folk listening to this who have a similar sort of conviction and desire to go and serve the church, perhaps elsewhere in the world. But you didn't just sort of wing it and decide, I'm going to go and do this. There was other help required. So how did you get from here to landing a church in Cyprus? What were some of the mechanics of that, really?
Yeah. So in terms of the church in Cyprus, we knew the church there reasonably well. We knew people there. Margarita and I have been visiting once or twice a year for the last 10 years with family back there and things like that. So we knew individuals there. Getting the church in Cyprus to, not getting is the wrong word, approaching the church in Cyprus was fairly easy, really. It was me saying to people we knew already, look, do you need help? This is the training I've got. Is there scope for me to come? That was fairly easy. But the challenge comes when they say, yes, of course there's scope here. There's always scope for help, but there's no resources here. There's no funding.
Yes.
And that's when the slightly trickier bit comes in. I was initially hesitant to be involved with a mission agency in Cyprus because there's a bit of a history there with some mission agencies doing sort of their own thing without getting involved with the church that is there.
Yeah, so you wanted something that's going to be focused on the church.
Something that's going to recognise that the church is the thing. And on that basis, I think it was probably Willie recommended Crosslinks to us. And Crosslinks have been excellent. They're exactly what we were looking for, really. A mission agency that realises that their role is to support the church there and support the church here, and to link between the two rather than to go in with their own programs and things that they're trying to do, which is exactly what we were looking for.
So they bring their expertise in terms of all the financial,
all of that logistical, tax things, legal requirements, advice for that kind of stuff, and just a wealth of experience, and bring that, but don't impose what they're trying to do onto the church. As within parameters, they're still looking for Bible teaching.
It's quite a rigorous process.
It is a rigorous process.
Which gives confidence. Well, it gives confidence all around, doesn't it? It gives confidence to you. If you get the go ahead at the end of it, there's an understanding that you're equipped to do this. Gives us confidence as a church sending.
Absolutely.
So I think all around that's been a positive, fruitful partnership.
It was a rigorous process. So 5 interviews, I think, in total. And then a week-long orientation and a lot of preparation before we could actually go. But as you say, it meant that it wasn't just us thinking that we were suited to do it and that we had this thing we wanted to do. But it was also us. It was also the church here. The church there had said yes, and it also meant people who knew what missionary work was like had said yes. We think you're suited to do it, which is a really helpful thing in terms of confidence and not feeling like you're a lone ranger going to do your own thing.
That's right. So you've been there since January last year. How's it been going? So what have you been doing over the... We'll talk about the future plans in a minute, but
Yep.
how's it been? As a family, moving to Cyprus, what's been going on the first year and a half?
Moving anywhere is tough, and it's been tough. We knew going in that we were leaving behind most of what we knew. And Marguerite grew up there, obviously, but she's not lived there since she was a teenager. So operating as an adult there, it's a very different thing. Going back with, a family rather than going back by yourself. So we knew that it was going to be challenging, but knowing it and then going through it are two different things. So it has been difficult.
Yes.
Mainly, I mean, the big thing really is it just takes time to develop friendships. There's no getting around it.
Yep.
If you want to have close relationships with people, you need to spend time and go through things with them. Really.
Can't fast track.
We can't fast track it. You can't. I mean, you go to university and you kind of can fast track it a little bit because everyone's so tightly together doing exactly the same thing all the time.
Yep.
But after that point, it just takes a long time. We knew people there already, which made it a bit easier. But even then, these are people that Margarita has not been around as an adult. And things change.
People change.
People change a lot, particularly between leaving for university and now, where everyone's married and got kids and have had different influences on their life.
Theological alignments as well.
Huge shifts.
Yeah.
Huge shifts. So trying to get to know people, it has been tough. It's taken time, and it will take more time yet. That's not to say that we don't have lots of people we're friendly with, but just the reality of deep friendships take a long time to develop. So that's been a challenge, and it is also this perhaps is going to sound a bit silly, but 15 degrees and sunny in January or December. It's objectively lovely. That's an objectively fantastic weather. But when you're used to frost everywhere and Christmas time being very chilly and very dark, and it is really disorientating.
But discombobulating. You kind of expect cold
certain
winter,
things at certain times of the year, and when it doesn't happen, it highlights that you're in a new place, which I guess would not have been the case if we'd moved somewhere else in the UK. The friendship thing would have been, but that was the big. You're in a new place now. Things are different here, and they'll always be different in many ways. So, we're settled in some ways. We know where to get things and that kind of stuff. But in terms of lasting, deep friendships, we just haven't had the time yet. And in terms of it's a very different place.
And in terms of the church and the work you've been involved with up till now, what have been some things you've been involved with? How's that gone thus far? I've spent a lot of time in the first few months learning Greek. Okay. That was my first initial task, which was a change of pace coming from the Tron. Sort of studying a language and not having a huge amount else pressing or urgent. That's a big task and it's a lot of work, but it's not a your week looks a bit different.
My week looked a bit different. That's changed and things have been added onto my plate and things. I mean, in many ways, a lot of what I've been doing has been normal church functioning stuff, teaching Sunday school, leading the youth group, leading prayer meetings and preaching occasionally, and that kind of thing.
How's the Greek?
It's a lot better than it was when I went, certainly. I hesitate to say that I'm fluent because there are probably a lot of situations in which I would still really struggle. But my ability to do the things that I need to do has improved no end, really. You're probably best asking someone else rather than me about my Greek. I feel like a toddler trying to express myself, completely fumbling all over the place, but others seem to know what I'm saying.
That's good.
Some
that's
of the
positive.
time. So
at least they pretend to know what you're saying.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay. Well, as expected, I guess there's been good things and hard things, but I want to talk about your plans for the future. Mm-hmm. And you've got a big kind of exciting project on the horizon. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that. We'll dig into this, but just broad brushstrokes. What's coming, and why is this a priority for you now?
Starting this October, we're hoping we will be beginning a Bible school.
Okay.
St. Barnabas Bible School. What Cyprus needs is a broad base of theological maturity.
Okay.
We want the church. Our vision is for the church in Cyprus to be able to stand faithfully, fruitfully over the coming generations, really, with the various challenges that are going to come. And to do that, we just need a greater level of understanding of what it is we believe, how that applies to the various situations that are coming along. Mm-hmm. And so to that end, we're starting this Bible school. Okay,
so who is your sort of ideal student to enroll in the school? Who are you aiming this at?
Either someone who is already involved with some form of church or parachurch leadership.
Sure.
Or someone who is likely to be in the next, say, 10 to 15 years.
Sure.
That's our kind of our target. We want the church of 10, 15 years' time to just have that maturity that it needs to be fruitful and to be faithful, and to continue in its work, equipped for it.
Okay. Who's sort of behind this? So obviously you've had a major role. Mm-hmm. Are there particular links with the church there? Is it sort of by itself? How's it kind of organised?
Initially, this is a ministry of the Greek Evangelical Church of Cyprus.
Great.
So our links, legally, theologically, personnel-wise, they're incredibly strong with the Greek Church. This is coming out of that church. This kind of thing has been on people's minds for, decades, really. But now we're in a position where we can actually give it a shot. And so, this is coming out of the Greek Church, Greek Evangelical Church.
Yep.
In time, we aim for it to be an independent organisation.
Sure.
It makes it easier logistically. We don't want the Greek Church. They've got a particular vision to reach Greek-speaking natives. This is a slightly different vision, slightly different purpose, and so in time it makes sense to keep those as separate things, though obviously completely under the authority of the churches that are involved with it. But those things take time. Cyprus is quite a complicated legal system, so for now it's very much a ministry of the Greek Evangelical Church.
Very good. So who's going to be involved with the sort of teaching side of it? Yourself?
I'll do about half.
Okay.
And the minister of the Greek Evangelical Church will do the other half for now. We'll see how things grow.
Good. And what's it gonna look like on the ground in terms of week to week? What's going to be involved? What's a typical day going to be like at St. Barnabas Bible School?
Yeah. So the centerpiece of our first year is a 1 day a week course.
Okay.
A full day of fairly rigorous teaching. It seems like the way that we can get the most bang for buck at the moment. So we'll see how that goes. We may need to tweak that model, but that's going to be the centerpiece of our first year. We have already been running some. So that's going to be in English language.
Okay.
To meet the target demographic.
Okay.
At the moment, and on top of that, we've got some evening classes, which we've actually been running for the last year already.
Okay.
There'll be Greek speaking.
Okay.
We want to have a Greek speaking option. It may not form a large part of our target at the moment, but we want to keep it going. So those will continue. every week. And then we're also planning to have several day conferences.
Okay, great.
On Saturdays. So 3 of those planned for the first year. And as I say, we'll probably have to tweak these things based on what works. But this is as good a place to start as any, I think. And
you've got to get going with these things. That's good.
Yep.
And if folk listening to this might be familiar with Cornhill, to what degree is that a helpful comparison? Is this Cornhill Cyprus, or how might you distinguish it a little bit?
It is a helpful comparison in terms of the model, in terms of the time and how much of the week it's going to take up, and the fact that we kind of expect many of our first students to already be involved with some ministry for the rest of the week, and the rationale for a part-time sort of study program. All of that's very comparable, really. The main difference is probably that we are less focused on preachers necessarily. We've probably got a broader range. We're aiming for a slightly, to increase the baseline level of theological understanding across quite a wide range of people. So we won't be having preaching classes, for example. It may come in time if there's a need there, particularly for that. But that's probably the main difference there.
That's helpful. So you're starting in October?
Yeah, October the 3rd.
October the 3rd?
Yep.
And have you got any students enrolled? What's the state of play, or is Cyprus lastminute.com?
Cyprus is pretty last minute.
Okay.
Pretty last minute. We don't have any students enrolled yet.
Okay.
We have excited noises.
Great.
Hopefully those become concrete, excited noises at some point as people sign up.
Well, it's still a while off, isn't it? So,
it is a little while off. We've got a group of people who, individuals who we intend to approach as the time draws near, who would really benefit from this kind of thing. But pre-summer and after summer are 2 different worlds in terms of organising things in Cyprus.
Things sort of do people sort of sleep through the summer, is that?
It's nothing really happens in it. You've seen what the temperature's like there at the moment. I don't.
Well, that's good. And the best way to start these things is to start and just
absolutely.
Get going. Well, that's exciting, David. And what especially can we be praying for you guys? Think with St. Barnabas on the horizon. What are some of the key things to bear in mind for you?
Pray for students to sign up. The need is really there, but pray that we'd be able to show people why this is going to be really beneficial for them and for their churches long term. So please pray for that. Pray that people would then go and actually sign up in good time. That'd be brilliant and very encouraging for us. Establishing this kind of institution is complicated. So pray for wisdom as myself and the others who are involved with setting it up try and make decisions about working in a theologically diverse setting, about the whole administrative legal side of things. How do we set stuff up as a institution for the long term that's going to be helpful? How, all of those decisions are complicated and require wisdom, and neither myself or the others involved have quite done something like this before. We all have our experience in various ways, but not quite in this particular area. We have people we can ask for advice and things, but we just pray that we'd have the wisdom to do that well, to encourage the long-term flourishing of it, the long-term fruitfulness of it, and continue to pray for us as a family, to really settle in, put down roots, and be as helpful as we can to the church and to the kingdom in Cyprus for as long as the Lord has us there.
Yeah, very good. Well, David, that's been great to hear a bit more about St. Barnabas in particular. It's exciting. If folk want to find out more about us, how would they do that?
Go to our website.
You've got a website?
We've got a website.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
www.stbarnabasbibleschool.org.
Excellent. Very good.
I think it's fairly easy to remember that one.
Well, not me repeat it.
No, okay.
But there'll be a link on the show notes, and folk can have a look.
I mean, there's a Facebook page and an Instagram account where I put various things
I was
on,
actually on the website in preparation, and it's
very good.
It's an excellent website.
Yeah,
That's
wow.
well done. Was that you?
It was, but it was.
There we go.
I mean, it was mainly Squarespace, and
That's okay.
they sponsoring this.
Looks
you know.
impressive. That's the key thing. Good. So you've got a bit more time here in the UK.
Yeah, a little.
Any highlights before you head back to Cyprus?
A week in Cornwall
Excellent.
coming up,
Very good.
so we're looking forward to that.
I hope you get slightly better weather. Although I
Yeah,
guess
and we have plenty of good weather.
get good-
Give us the rain and the wind.
you want a bit of
that's what
that
we
in your
want.
system before you get back to the
Yeah,
sunshine.
exactly.
Well, that's good. Well, listen, Dave, thanks so much for stopping in and joining us here. It's been great to hear from you. But that's us from Talking Points today. Thanks for stopping by.